Hello and welcome to our last day at Hougoumont Farm. This season has been absolutely incredible. We've had some amazing archaeology, we've had veterans getting to know each other, students getting involved, and overall the entire feeling has been one of calm and friendship, which is incredible. It's been one of the smallest field seasons we've done at Waterloo Uncovered for a while, and that feeling of camaraderie has really come through. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with this group this year. And archaeologically, we've had some amazing discoveries.
This is amazing. This trench changes every time I visit it, and this will be the last time on this trip. And this was the anomaly that we tied into the chapel symbol on that 1777 map. And lo and behold, when we cut down into it, into this area, we came up with a pile of brick and stone. And that is now here, like some sort of garden feature in the corner, because it was just a pile of rubble. But as we've gone down, and in fact as we'd hoped, we've come up with a more formal structure, and this appears to be a curved wall. So perhaps the apse, and in fact that fits with the orientation, so the apse would be the kind of curved part of this small chapel at the back, which we see in some of the examples today. And if that's the case, then the side walls are coming off here, and that's right, because that's an east-west alignment, as you would expect with a religious building, a church or a chapel. So that's phenomenal. And it's still got a fair bit of structure about it. So we've answered that first question. Was there a chapel here? Well, there was. The follow-on question from that is, was it here at the time of the battle? Now that is a trickier question to answer. The evidence we've got at the moment suggests that there was some element of this here at the time of the battle, not least a musket ball which has brick dust embedded in it, as though it's hit a brick. And we've seen examples of these at the base of the garden wall in the killing ground. Now, just because that's hit a brick, it doesn't mean that this chapel was standing. It may have been a ruin or even a pile of rubble. I'm actually surprised to see so much structure still intact, so we might be talking more of a ruin than a pile of rubble. But either way, that feature can provide cover in a battle. You can hunker down behind it and take shelter. And that musket ball with the brick dust in it is allied. It's .75 caliber, so it's probably being fired by a Brown Bess. So what we might see is French advancing, and they're only just in the woodland here. They've come down the open ridge through the cornfields into the woodland marked by the green. Imagine the trees, and then perhaps a clearing with this feature within it. They've hunkered down, perhaps delivering fire from it, maybe more than one man. And then the defenders, who are also in the wood, skirmishing, using the trees as cover, have delivered fire into this direction. So we've here got a really intriguing feature, and what's excited me throughout about 2023 at Hougoumont with Waterloo Uncovered is the potential to put back features that had an influence on the battle into the landscape, because these have been lost for centuries, for at least 200 years. And this is a phenomenal achievement, I think. This is really exciting. This is taking battlefield archaeology to a new level. So, Vero, what's the discoloration of the bricks here?
So as you can see, we have a piece of masonry here. We still don't know if it's at the right place or it collapsed. But what's interesting is this decoloration. You have the normal brick coloration in this area, and as you go towards the inside, you can see that it gets more like dark and then even white here.
Yeah.
And that's obviously from a fire. So this building must have been on fire.
Wow. So this is the interior, because that does look like the curved end of the apse, doesn't it? As you would find on one of these chapels, or at least some of them.
It could be the curve of the apse. We still have to clean it to be sure of that, but it seems to be the apse side of the chapel. And what's interesting is that you can see that inside you have the decoloration that shows that the inside of the building must have burned, and the temperature must have risen very, very high to have that kind of discoloration, and even this side is white.
That's incredible. It'd be very tempting to say it was burned during the battle, as we know some of the buildings at Hougoumont, but if this was demolished earlier than the battle, quite violently, then that would make sense as well. But that's staggering.
Yeah, so we still have to make some investigation and to continue the excavation to try to find some evidence of it's the burning being part of the battle.
But it's more structural remains or survival than I'd expected. That's
and hopefully there could be more if we dig more.
So what do you think we're going to do here? Are we going to leave it as it is, or cover it up and come back to this next year?
I think we'll cover it up, because we won't have time to finish that this year, but we'll definitely cover it up, and then hopefully we can come back.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks, Vera.
You're welcome.
This excavation's on quite a big scale, and Dom and Vero have been working really hard here. And they've done some astounding work, because on the face of it, it doesn't look like much. It's just a lot of earth scoured out. There aren't any structural elements to it. But the point is that this is an important part of the battle for Hougoumont that has just disappeared over time. Now, when we first started working these fields to the south of the farm in 2015 with Waterloo Uncovered, we did some geophysics, we excavated some of those anomalies, and a couple of them turned out to be brick kilns. And those brick kilns may have been 200 years old before the battle, and probably disappeared themselves. But they are the genesis of the farm. It's there that the bricks that make the walls and the buildings of Hougoumont. When we were doing that work, we asked ourselves, well, where did the clay come from? And what we've done here, on a most basic level, is answer that question. What we've got is a quarry that has resulted from the exploitation of clay that is then used to make those bricks. But as part of this investigation, what we wanted to test was whether this quarry, as a scoop or a hole in the ground, was here at the time of the battle. And if that was the case, could it have been used as somewhere to shelter troops? And we've got a parallel for this up at Le Haisson, where there's the sandpit quarry on the other side of the road. And we know from the accounts that the 95th Rifles were positioned in that pit until late in the day, when that location was captured by the French. We've got no records of this whatsoever. Absolutely invisible as far as history is concerned. But through the work that we've been doing here over the past week and more, using excavation and metal detector survey, what we've come up with is something quite staggering. This was here as a quarry, and there is a lot of battle-related material in it. There are musket balls, there are pistol balls, which always indicate close-quarter fighting because of the poor range of the pistol. We've got buckles, and we've got, I think it was yesterday or the day before, we found a beautiful French flint with the lead still on it, which is used to tighten it into the clamp on the hammer of the musket. And that even had a date on it. It was dated to 1811, so that was an old piece of kit. But that flint had been well used and discarded by the soldier and then replaced, probably under fire. And we can see, if you use my shadow as an indicator, because I'm not getting in that hole without any safety equipment, we've got, you can see this dark level coming down about 2 meters from the present surface. And then we've got this lighter yellowy brown deposit that goes down to the base of the trench. Now that's colluvium, which has washed into hollows related to the quarrying. And the first couple of centimetres of that deposit have been really artefact rich. That's where our battle material has been coming out from. And it looks like that is potentially the ground surface at the time of the battle. Now, some of that material may have washed off the northern lip of this quarry scoop, but nonetheless, what we've demonstrated is that at the time of the battle, the ground level here was dramatically lower than it is today, and it was related to the battle. So what we can envisage here is French troops coming off the ridge behind us, through the open fields, into the wood, and we're just inside the wood. So this would be one of the first features they'd encountered. If I saw this and I was looking for cover, yes, there are trees around it, but I'd much prefer a big hole in the ground. And so it looks as though they've used the front lip to shoot at the defenders to the north who have come down from the farm, and they will ultimately succeed in pushing them back to the farm. So what we've got here is part of the battlefield, and potentially quite an important part, that has not been written about. It's disappeared over time, and I think it's an excellent example of what archaeology has to offer in our understanding of history. There are loads of books written on Waterloo. Not one of them mentions this. Moose, you were detecting here, so you found musket balls, buckles, and other stuff. But another object that you found is a piece of cannon shot?
Cannon shot, probably grape shot.
So it could be grape shot or canister shot.
Those
iron balls?
It's grape. It's like golf ball size.
Okay. And that was where?
On the far end where the digger's about now, in that corner, which I would think would suggest the French were putting in suppression fire into the woods.
So as they're coming in, which makes sense, they know there are enemy soldiers in here. They're using them, and it wouldn't take much to use a cannon either on the ridge or bring it slightly forward. And remember, we've got the same shot
against the wall
and inside the garden. So they brought a gun up through here at some point. So this might be its first use.
Yes.
But you're right, that makes total sense. You've got a heavily defended, difficult piece of terrain, and they're trying to clear it with those multiple like giant shotgun blasts into the trees.
Yeah. Fire whatever you got before you send in the infantry.
This is why we use soldiers on this project.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So we've had a look at the archaeology and what we've been doing for the last week or so, and it's been a fascinating week of interesting discoveries and really great research. But more importantly, it's also been a week where we've rediscovered once again what makes Waterloo Uncovered so memorable, and that is the fellowship between people, people with experiences of war, people who come in from academia, students, volunteers, all together in one purpose on this site, and it really has been wonderful. We have a great team, smaller than last year, much more intimate, doing some very, very interesting research. But none of this could happen without the support of people like you. We depend on our sponsors, our donors, and generous individual supporters, both for the goodwill, for the interest, and of course for the financial support. And we're enormously grateful for all of that. And I hope that you will see and have seen from this some of where your money goes. But also, I hope you've had the opportunity just to dip in a little bit to the great spirit of this organisation, and understand just what a difference it does make. We could not be here without you, and we're enormously grateful for what you do for us. And I hope that what we've done here and what we're excavating is of interest and helps to answer some of the questions that you might have, both about archaeology, which is in itself a fascinating discipline, but in the Battle of Waterloo itself, which is such an important and iconic part of all our history. So thank you, and I hope we will soon see you again on the battlefield, or indeed back in London. Thank you.